The workforce and the job market is changing. There's a lot of dynamics for that, a lot of disruptive forces. One of the major ones is digital disruption and new levels of automation coming into the work that we do. And for most of us, this is creating opportunity. It's actually building more capability into the software that we use and enabling us to stop doing some of the more rote work and do some more creative work. But there's 90,000 asset managers that are going to projected to lose their job in the next 5 years. Customer service agents, all kinds of job categories are going to significantly experience change. And this has multiple levels of impact on us in the job market. Some of us will lose our jobs. Some of us will have our teams majorly reconfigured so that we're not just managing people, we're managing people and machines, or machines that, computer screens, software that brings us, new kinds of capabilities that we didn't have 5 years ago. And it's going to put pressure on all of us to really keep up with these changes in our own career if we want to stay employable. And in some cases, this means, understanding what's happening and kind of step up to leading in that environment. And in other cases, it means that we have to be ready to realize that, the job that we have now is basically changing so much that either we're not prepared for it or we don't want it anymore. So what does it mean to be future-proofed and be ready for this dramatic change in the job market that is likely to affect us in one way or another? Well, it means a couple of things. To be future-proofed, to have your career be future-proofed, it really means you have to be ready for a major disruption, a layoff, desertion of a major client, some kind of major reorg that just, kind of leaves you no option right there. And being ready without being paranoid, right? So to be future-proofed, you have to keep doing a good job doing what you're doing, knowing things could change dramatically, and you have a plan B that's executable and ready to go in your pocket. Another thing you need to do is really, start paying attention and reach out and learn about these trends. And more importantly than just being conversant in the trends, you need to understand the implications for you, your team, your customer base. You need to be conversant in all of that and understand what's coming and not just kind of stick your head in the sand and go, well, I'm just going to not pay attention to it until I have to, right? That's how you get blindsided. So you have to be aware of and knowledgeable about the trends and what it means for your job, your business. And then finally, you need to keep yourself accountable to gaining the new skills that you're going to need to survive and thrive in this future, in your particular job category. And the reason I say you need to keep yourself accountable is a lot of companies do stick their head in the sand, or they're not in a position to make risky investments until it's kind of too late, and they are not always investing in upskilling you. They're quite often having to sort of say, okay, well, here's all the people that don't have the skills we need. Let's go move them off the payroll, and let's go get people who do have the right skills. So if they're not investing in you and upskilling you, then you need to upskill yourself. And even if they are upskilling you, you have to ask yourself, is this where I want? Are these the skills that are going to get me where I want to go? Because they're investing in you for their reasons, not for yours. So that's what it means to be future-proofed. But there's some challenges with that, and so let's address them. So it's staying abreast of the skills, understanding the implications, understanding what skills you need to be getting. How do you do that? Well, unfortunately, you can't go read a book and know it all. Although there are books out there, there's certainly more and more material online. Everyone's trying to figure this out at the same time. So my suggestion is you just start paying attention and looking up from your own work, going to meetups, reading publications, going to conferences and talking to your peers and understanding what's coming at you. And you don't have to necessarily be a major industry thought leader to be conversant in the trends and have an idea of the implications for things. So find some people either in your company or in your industry or in your community who are also doing this, and start a meetup. Start having this conversation to stay conversant. you do need to develop a plan B. It has to be executable, and you have to do it without being paranoid. The best way to develop a plan B is to do a mock job search. If you want a new job, you do a job search. But if you're okay in the job you have, but you're developing a plan B, do a mock job search. Go out and say, well, if I was looking for a job, what would I be qualified for? What kind of jobs would I want? What would be good for my skills? What are my life goals? And what kind of job would really support those? And you can do all that work and you can do all that research, without actually applying for jobs. You can also apply for jobs and see what happens. The worst thing that happens is you find a great job. And this can take time, so I don't necessarily recommend that, like rush out and do it, but do a little bit every week. Start focusing on saying, okay, I'm just going to stay abreast. It's part of this overall research effort to learn the trends. Learn the trends in hiring in your job category. What are people hiring for? And become very conversant in that and aware of that, because that'll inform you about what of your skills you need to be, working on developing. The other thing, without paranoia, developing a plan B without being paranoid, you have to be aware of the fears that you have, the paranoias that you have, and actively work to let them go. This will benefit you in all kinds of areas in your life. But understanding which of those fears kind of trigger you into feeling uncomfortable and learning to face them and let them go and de-trigger them, that's a major life skill, and this is an excellent way to practice it. So developing your plan B with a mock job search and being aware of what's triggering you along the way is very powerful and puts you in a position of feeling really prepared. If disaster strikes, you're ready to go. And finally, you need to ask yourself, do I really want to stay in the job, in the industry that I'm in? Most people in the private sector, on average, change jobs every 3 to 4 years. And that means that over the course of your lifetime, you're going to have a lot of different jobs. Most people are also changing careers several times in their lifetimes for a variety of reasons. Sometimes they get bored of it. Sometimes there's no more opportunity that interests them. Sometimes they have no choice. The point is that changing careers is, common, and changing jobs is common. And your best strategy is to kind of say, well, okay, I'm going to be changing my job at some point in the future, in the next few years or the next year. I might be changing careers several times. So is now the time? You can always say no. But when you ask yourself that question on a regular basis, is it time? Is it time to change my job, to change my career? When you start asking that question on a regular basis, it kind of takes a lot of the fear out of asking the question and what the answer may be back. So you want to start asking yourself regularly, is this still where I want to be? Now, I know that, you've got a job. You have a life. This takes time and energy that most of us don't, find laying around. And I understand that. That's why most of what I do with my clients is we set up kind of monthly accountability conversations where, they have an opportunity to take a step back and reflect and say, okay, I can't do all this at once, but what can I do in the next 30 days? What could I research? What job category can I understand better? And kind of get a sort of a short-term focus on how to move forward to discover the kind of things that I'm talking about here. And over 6 months, over 3 months even, you really start to feel future-proofed, because you realize, well, okay, it's not that I spend all my time every day doing this, but a little time every week I can spend understanding these trends, getting some new skills under my belt, and focusing on where my future is going. And pretty soon you start to feel that plan B develop in your back pocket, and you're not feeling paranoid, you're feeling proactive. And what this fundamental skill is that future-proofs you in your career is really becoming comfortable in your stretch zone. It's a stretch to go out and think about where the future is going, where your job might be going, what else you might be doing. That's a stretch. It can feel uncomfortable, and it can make you feel not confident if you're not supported along the way and feeling like you have the resources and the support to do it. And that's what we do here at Empower Coaching is, we give you the resources. We give you the support in a lot of different ways, in community and with a lot of materials here. And so my invitation to you is to really think about how much of this proactive outreach you're doing to get on top of where your job and industry category is going, and question yourself as to, how committed are you to this? and doing the research necessary to understand how you're going to stay employable and how you're going to stay competitive in the future, given where the trends are going. So I invite you to kind of step into that journey, and I invite you to join us and let us support you along the way.